Welcome to Building a Buzz and Selling Your Music Online. Everybody knows, obviously, and has seen and followed how incredibly quickly the music industry has been changing, and particularly online with social networks, with not just downloads, but streaming services, etc. There's tons of companies coming in, creating new services. It seems like every week there's another company with some kind of social application or some digital distribution application or some online jamming functionality. That's all new. And yet at the same time, companies are dropping like flies. I think only in the fourth quarter, three big name companies, iMean, and Lala, all got gobbled up by larger companies in the space. So the space is moving incredibly quickly. And the question always is, what do I as an artist have to do today in 2010 and in 2011 to get a buzz and to make a buck at selling my product, whether it's downloads, whether it's physical product, whether it's merch. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We have a great panel who I'll introduce in a minute. We'll be talking for about an hour. We have plenty of time afterwards for Q&A, and so hold your questions and we'll get to hopefully all of them. My name is Tony Van Veen. I'm the CEO of Discmakers and of CD Baby. Discmakers is the largest manufacturer of CDs and DVDs for independent artists in the country, and CD Baby is the industry leader in online music sales, both physical CDs as well as downloads, and the largest distributor of indie content to the download and streaming music sellers like iTunes and Amazon, etc., with 2.6 million tracks that we distribute to all those sites. Our esteemed panel, from left to right, is Mr. Bob Baker, who is an author and internet marketing expert. Wrote the highly acclaimed Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook and several other books, including MySpace Music Marketing and Unleash the Artist Within. He also developed Berklee Music's Music Marketing 101 course. Bob is an indie musician and former music magazine editor who is dedicated to showing musicians of all kinds how to get exposure, connect with fans, sell more music, and increase their incomes through their artistic passions. You can find all of Bob's articles and blogs and all that other good stuff at thebuzzfactor.com. Next to Bob, we have Ariel Hyatt, who is the founder of Ariel Publicity and Cyber PR, a New York-based digital firm that connects artists, authors, and filmmakers to blogs, podcasts, internet radio stations, and social media sites. Over the past 13 years, her firm has represented over 1,400 musicians of all genres. A couple times a year, she leads sold-out workshops to musicians and music industry professionals looking to learn about social media and online marketing. Her bi-weekly e-zine and YouTube series, Sound Advice, has over 10,000 subscribers, and the list is steadily growing. She's written dozens of articles on how to navigate the new music business, and her book, Music Success in 9 Weeks, is available at Amazon.com and right outside. She's a contributing blogger to Music Think Tank, has spoken at countless music conferences over the years, and proudly serves on the board of the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, which provides financial assistance to career musicians who are struggling to make ends meet while facing illness, disability, or age-related problems. Next to Ariel, we have Michael Lasco, President and CEO of Taxi. Michael has become one of the most well-connected people in the music business today. As president and CEO of Taxi, he's in daily contact with directors and vice presidents of A&R at virtually all major record labels, many prominent independent labels, publishers, and music supervisors working on film and TV projects. Michael began his career in 1974 at Criteria Studios in Miami, Florida. As an engineer-producer, he worked with artists such as Neil Young, Cheap Trick, Eric Clapton, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, and many more. In 1992, he founded Taxi, the independent A&R vehicle. Taxi specializes in helping major record labels, publishers, and music supervisors for film and television find new talent
and songwriters throughout the US and 30 other countries. Taxi works with over 500 companies, including A&M, Arista, Atlantic, BMG, Capitol, Columbia, DreamWorks, and so on and so forth. And finally, we have Brian Mazzaferri, who's singer and songwriter, lead singer for the Nez rock band I Fight Dragons, or Chiptune, as it's known. With I Fight Dragons, he just completed last month, 2 months ago, a 60-day, 45-gig tour across the United States. No mean feat for an act less than 1 year old, and has seen already success on mainstream radio. Brian's innovative online marketing techniques have landed him significant press for his article, How to Generate 200 New Fans a Week. The band also garnered publicity for generating $10,000 in revenues online in the span of 48 hours. They were named Metro Mix's Best New Chicago Band for 2009 and have sold several thousand copies of their debut EP, Cool Is Just a Number, released in February '09, while still unsigned. I Fight Dragons is currently working on a full-length album to be released in early 2010 with a national tour to follow. You can find out more at ifightdragons.com. So there you have it. Those are the formalities. So let's get started. We'll talk a little bit about building a buzz. We'll start with you, Bob. Some of the top three things a starting artist should do to establish himself or herself online.
Okay. It's interesting the way that question is phrased. You said a starting artist, which sounds very similar to starving artist, but just one letter difference. But so starting, a beginning artist. Literally, if you were starting from scratch, you didn't even have an internet presence at all. The three things that I would recommend that you do right off the bat is first register a domain name. See if the name of your band, or if you're a solo artist, if your name is available as a .com. Ideally, you want a .com because it's still hard to train people to type in the .net or the .tv or whatever it is. But register a domain name. Even if you're using your MySpace profile, as I know a lot of bands are, as your main web presence, register the domain name and redirect it to wherever you have your main presence. Ideally, though, you will eventually want to have your own website, your own home, your hub on the web where you are directing people. But you want to have that domain name and have people correspond with you at the your name at whatever your domain name is. If your name or your band name is already taken, see if you can add music or some reference to your genre, like BillSmithBlues.com, or just some way you need to have that hub and that domain name. Number two is to start a mailing list. You absolutely have to be corresponding with people directly, not just passively sitting back and waiting for them to come to you. So you would start a mailing list. There are tons of services, both free and paid, that you can use to help you manage a mailing list, but collect them at your live shows and on your website, and then correspond with those people on a regular basis. And then three, if you're just starting out, is to at least, the very least, get a profile on all the major social networks in your band's name or in your personal name, or both, and start using those as these trails that lead to your hub that will eventually be your website. So those are my quick three.
Okay. Ariel?
Wow, three. Hi.
Or two, or one, or four.
Yes, to everything Bob said. But I think before that, you have to understand one thing about all of this marketing stuff, which I know for a lot of creative people is an utter drag and sucks away your energy from your creative time. And it was funny, as I was just listening to all the things Brian accomplished, I'm like, wait a minute, and then he has to go and record an album on top of that and be creative and come up with new ideas. I mean, I think it's very easy Bob's a musician. I think I'm the only person here at NAMM that's not actually a musician, and I'm flabbergasted and overwhelmed with just the amount of choices for purchasing instruments. So I'm getting a whole new perspective after my entire adult life in the music industry. I want to start by just saying, before you go in to tackle all this stuff, which is unfair and annoying and upsetting and takes away time, frame of mind is what's going to set you apart from every other musician in the game. If you just can understand that all of these newfangled things, which, as Tony brilliantly pointed out, they come, they go, companies get bought up. I mean, I had an artist just this morning in my inbox so upset because my blog log is going away, and she spent 4 hours setting up her profile. And I get it, it's really upsetting. So before you even dive in, frame of mind, understand when it's time to put your artist hat on, when it's time to take it off, when it's time to focus on creative work is not when you're on Twitter. That is just not a creative outlet. It is a wonderful place to connect with people, but it is not where you're gonna necessarily do your deep expressive work. So on top of the three that he already said, which are the exact three I would have said, is to just get that all of this stuff is necessary and is very separate from your core art. And if you can just forgive it for what it is and use it, you're gonna completely have hopefully a different thought pattern around that. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna talk about that more during this panel, but frame of mind. Also, before you do anything in any of these domains, having goals, any kind of goals, will make you feel a lot less lost. So he talked about newsletter. If you have one person on your newsletter list and it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, or your mom, that's a great place to start. Have a goal of, okay, by the end of 6 months, I want to have 100 or 200 people. So if you're always working towards something, all these macro numbers, like when you go on to Twitter and you see that John Mayer has over 2 million followers, you don't have to be John Mayer. You just have to have 200 people that like you, and you can make a good living.
Michael, you always have an interesting perspective. Your thoughts?
I hope it's interesting. Everybody worries about marketing. They know they need to market. You wouldn't be in this room today if you weren't concerned with marketing. But I think that they forget about making great music. I'm stealing from Seth Godin, who's a very popular marketing guru. He always talks about making something remarkable, meaning that one person will remark to another. Is your music remarkable? And will people talk about it? All the marketing in the world doesn't do any good if people come to your site and hear your music and go, eh. But people think that, it's really hard to write hit songs, but if I just get out there and market my butt off, then that'll make me famous. If I can ask you guys a question, how many of you are musicians? Stupid question, huh? Most of you. How many of you can name in 1 or 2 words what genre your music is in? Maybe 30, 40% of the room. It's really critical. The elevator speech, you've probably heard that phrase before. If somebody walks up to you and says, what kind of music do you make? Don't tell them that you make unearthly Space Jam flower power music. They don't really know what that is. If you can relate it to another artist, which I know musicians are loath to do, but if you were to say a modern version of Fleetwood Mac with no females, they would have some perspective. They would get an idea of the range that you were in and know whether or not they would be interested enough to go any further. So that would be my second thing. The third thing would be to create a buzz among your people. You don't want to create a buzz among everybody. You want to find people who are liking the genre of music that you do. So be places where they are and find them from there. Because if you're doing straight up pop music, it wouldn't do you any good to hang out on websites or on forums that are mostly talking about country music. So identify your genre, find out where the people in your genre are, and then go market to them there.
Brian, you're a prime example of an artist, who, with a new band, built incredible buzz. I mean, what have, these are kind of some theoretical questions to the rest of the panel, but for you specifically, I mean, what were some of the top things that you used to build buzz for I Fight Dragons?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that's everything just said is the foundation. You got to start there. And I guess I sort of approached the question thinking, all right, you've thought of all that. What? You've thought of all that. You got great music that is the music that moves your soul, is the music you want to make. That, being a given, I would say the top 3 things are have a professional email list service. This is the key. I use Constant Contact. There's a 60-day free trial. That's what we use. But there's other iContact, but a professional one that people can click on and unsubscribe in 1 click.
Reverb Nation is free.
Reverb Nation has FanReach and FanBridge. But so have that email list service. And for us, the key element was give away something, give away your best stuff for free when people sign up. And it's the best. For us, it was a 5-song EP that we spent, before we even started, we spent about 6 months working on that and making it perfect. We ended up changing studios in the middle. You know, we did everything we could until that was literally the best thing we could produce. And then we gave it away for free as long as people sign up for the email list. So I'd say that's step one, professional email list service, that you give away your best stuff when they sign up. And then for us, the second step was keep making better stuff. Just keep going. And I'm amazed at, it's so demanding as a creative person to keep making better and better stuff constantly. But if you make yourself do it, then you will. I don't care where you're at right now. If you say, well, I've got to, you know, release a new, awesome, remarkable something every 2 weeks, you're going to do it. I mean, that's just say it and then do it. Because chances are, if you work that regularly, it's going to get better and better. So that's what we did, actually. We set a goal of weekly. Every Monday morning at 11 a.m., because that's how Obama did it, we would email our list. 11 a.m. is the best time if you got in your local time zone, because that's when people read emails because they're getting tired and they're about to go to lunch. And Monday is better because Friday a lot of people aren't at work. But you know, you send out the email with another piece of content, whatever it is, and it's a great place to stretch your creative legs too, because you know, it's remixes. They were things that we did, collaborations with other members of our community that remixed our songs. We would remix their songs. We did cover versions of, you know, our favorite artists, because then those artists, you know, people that love that music that would probably love our music, end up finding our version of a song that we love, and you know, end up connecting to us through that. But the key is, so this is the second thing, it's continually releasing the best stuff you can, again, for free. And it's brutal, because I think I might, you know, have a bone of contention with people over the fact that I think it all has to be free at the beginning. It just has to, because you know, they can get it for free anyway. So it's like you're going to meet someone, and that's the handshake. You say, here's who I am, like, please, you know, take this, get to know me. Let's develop a relationship. And then that's the email list, is continually giving free stuff. And the neat effect that we saw was, especially as, you know, we held ourselves to the highest bar we could, is all home recorded. You know, it's all our home studio. At the EP, the first thing we made, professional studio. But from then on, we just did the best quality stuff we could and kept getting better. And it was like compound interest, where each week, you know, the new people that had just signed up last week got the free EP and the free stuff, told their friends about it, tweeted about it, you know, Facebooked about it, and then in the next week we would get 50 new signups. And that started spiraling to the point where when we were really, before we started touring, that was, you know, we were just creating, because obviously touring introduces other stuff, we were getting about 200 new signups a week based solely on, you know, whatever we could put out next, whether it's covers, remixes, yeah, you know, content. Videos, radarmusicvideos.com.
The typical artist may think, and I've heard this and seen this on blog comments, etc. You know, how do you respond to the artist that would say, Brian, what do you mean it should be free? I mean, we work our butts off. Our talent is worth money. We get up at the crack of noon to write songs and you know, record them. How am I going to make money if I'm giving it all away?
Last time you got a cell phone, how much did you pay for the base model?
Nothing.
That's an expensive piece of machinery. But I tell you what, you paid out the nose as time went on because you got locked in. And you know, it's maybe not as severe an analogy, but it's, you know, a lost leader, however you want to put it. You've got, if you want people to connect with you, and I like to think it's a little more artistic than that, you know, it's not locking people in, things like that, but it's the same concept that you're gonna have to create something that you give to people to establish a relationship. And from then on, they'll want things from you as you build that relationship. And it's an artistic relationship. You know, it's not the phone company's evil grab. It's a rewarding relationship. At least that's what I've found is it feeds on it. And all of a sudden, because you've got, you know, at first I remember feeling so victorious when we reached 500 people on our email list. You know, the month after our CD release show, and thinking like, wow, every week we send something out and 300 people open it up and listen to it and enjoy that. And that meant that the next week, we busted our butts to, you know, make something even better that those people would really like, because we heard from them about it. They replied to emails, they replied on Twitter, and it becomes this self-reinforcing thing that down the line, the people ended up being incredibly willing to support us monetarily. You know, when we went on tour and we needed the money to do that, we're a 6-person band with a lot of equipment, and it's so expensive to get across the nation for 2 months straight. You know, they you know, put their money where their mouths were, but we hadn't sold them anything for the first 9 months.
Ariel, what have you seen? You're in the PR business. What have you seen artists do online that really has helped them build buzz?
Well, it's exactly what Brian is saying. He's right on the money. I mean, and what's interesting about the success of my company, which I can see clearly, I've had a PR firm for 14 years. The minute I started writing articles about how to do your own PR and I started giving them away, I started seeing a massive return. Like, this is not just in the music industry where this type of model works. I want you guys to get this, like, because it's just good business. It's statistically shown that people buy from those they love and trust. Everybody has that favorite salesperson somewhere, and everybody concurrently has that story of that skeevy car salesman. Like, people don't like that. There's a certain type of sales that people hate, and there's a certain type of sales that people love. He's doing the kind of sales that people love. And what's awesome about it is you're motivated because you're getting so much amazing feedback. And same goes for me. When I put out a great article and one person comments on the blog, like, thank you so much, this just changed my thinking around how to market myself, that makes me want to keep figuring out the next thing on Facebook for them to do, because I get that it's so as a community, this type of leveraging is excessively powerful. So what I have seen artists do when they succeed is the first thing you need to do is detach yourself from getting angry about giving away your art. I know it sucks, but he's right. It is your handshake. It is your business card. If you can get that, and also some really cool statistics from iTunes are now showing through research, the music that they're giving away is actually selling more. Like, the one track that's given away for free outsells all the other tracks on the album. People hear it, they like it, and they tend to pay for it. So know that giving it away doesn't mean in perpetuity forever giving it away for free. So that's something to get. Another thing that I've seen artists really, really succeed at, aside from all these like tips and techniques, is just wanting to relate in a humanistic way to their fan base. I think the minute you disconnect yourself from the fact that what anyone trying to do when they listen to music is have a visceral reaction, right? We all have our favorite song that moves us. That's why we have a wedding song, or the birth of our child song, or our prom song, or the song that was on the radio the day we broke up with that person when we were driving away, and it's melded in your head as that song. That's what you're creating for people. And I think when you're so in the business of marketing and writing and touring and doing and Facebooking and Twittering and all this stuff, you completely forget that at the root, you're connecting to people and you're changing their lives, and they may never tell you about that. And so to understand your power there, and to be just a little bit arrogant enough about it to show it, is really where I see my successful artists. I have artists that, like, once a month throw out an email to their list and go, hi, we're going bowling and we're going to be at this bowling alley. Come hang out with us and grab a beer and let's bowl. And so it's those artists that can bond really well with their fans. Those are the ones that I see having much, much, much more success. Because guess what? When you're going to get married and you want your wedding song played, or when you're going to have a backyard barbecue and you want a live band there, or when you get a crazy opportunity at work where someone needs a jingle written for something at the office, who are you going to call? The guy that you went bowling with, who you're friends with, or like some random, you have no idea who. So it's also getting that every connection you make with your fan base is an opportunity for success in any domain. You can make money from your fans in ways that you never dreamed possible, but you have to know who they are and you have to like them.
Bob, any buzz tips from you?
Yeah, just real quickly on the whole giving away thing. Just think about the music business prior to 2000. Radio was a big way to promote music, and that was what? Giving away your music for free. People heard it. Of course, they couldn't. There's differences because they couldn't acquire it and replay it unless they well, like, I guess actually we did put up little cassette recorders up
Yes,
to the
we did.
speakers and do that too. So come to think of it, that, yeah. And in fact, record companies, I mean, payola was record companies paying certain entities to give away the music. So to get into people's ears, get the familiarity factor going, and then once you've got the attention of an audience, then you can leverage it to make money in other ways. So yeah, think of basically free downloads as the new radio, I suppose. Another thing, even though the internet's constantly changing, technology is always evolving and confusing, there's some things that are timeless, and this whole thing that we're talking about of giving away stuff is just a timeless thing that was even done prior to the internet. I got online in about 1995, which makes me, I guess, a dinosaur in internet years. But one of the first things that I did was write articles, and even before I had my own website, there were other music-related websites running my articles, and I focused on building up an email list. It just struck me as the obvious thing to do. And here, just 15 years later, I've got this pretty prominent internet presence with indie music marketing that has served me well, just by giving away little chunks of what I've done, of what I've written about. But as far as the buzz thing, so when somebody, you have music, you're an independent artist, you go, I got to go out and promote me. And so the typical thing is to focus on you and your band, and there's a lot of cool creative ways that we can do it. But actually, I have a couple of examples of this thing I call creating, instead of promoting your band or yourself as an artist only, promote your genre and include other bands in the genre. There's two people that come to mind. David Neveu is a musician in Portland, I believe, and he plays like mellow piano instrumental music. And so instead of just promoting himself, he started this, it's like there's kind of an online radio show and a website that's called something like Whisperings or something, like mellow piano music. And he started promoting other prominent artists in that sort of new agey kind of category. And by doing so, he attracted people that were searching for the genre, that were searching for these other artists. And he also got to know these other artists and now is performing shows with them, and his popularity has risen as he promoted the genre and created sort of a portal, a resource for this mellow instrumental piano music. Mark Gunn is another friend of mine from Austin, Texas, who plays like Celtic, folky, funny, quirky kind of music, and he's got a ton of these little websites that act as sort of what I call link bait. And he's got one that's like Celtic MP3.
Celtic music for cats.
Yeah, oh yeah, actually he has, it's Irish drinking songs for cat lovers is his CD.
Okay, so wait,
Yeah.
just if you don't know, do you know?
What- I
He
don't know.
sold tens of thousands of those CDs. I know it sounds like weird and you're probably like, oh my God, but I play like cool rock music, so oh my God, never. But think about it. How many people like cats? How many people drink? How many people need to buy a gift for Debbie in their office? And they're like, I don't know, but she has a cat. Google, Google, Google.
And she
Mark.
likes to drink.
And if she's
She kind of
Irish,
made
on
an
top
ass of
that-
herself at the last holiday party. I'll get her this CD. No, so seriously, he sold tens of thousands of these CDs. And last time I saw him, he was laughing with me. He was like, "Can you believe it? Like for cats." And he loves his cats. And then he's got all these like weird people like me who I love my cat. So we talk about our cats and. Genius. And so he also has many, many podcasts. So he's interviewing other artists, and he's got all these artists, in his community, and they love him, and he's known in the Celtic world. And
Yeah.
it's just a really, I mean, that's another thing, right? We all feel so alone in all this marketing stuff.
I detect a real theme here. It's give stuff away and then give more stuff away. And use the freebies to build your database, build your mailing list, your fan list. How do you turn all those free leads into revenues? How do you convert them into buying customers?
I was just going to ask them that same question. Great minds think alike, because I don't know. Tony and I are both avid fans of marketing. We read a lot of marketing books.
That's why I figured you'd have the answer.
I don't. Honestly, with all the books that I've read, nobody has ever come out with a formula or a timeline about when to convert. It's expected to happen naturally because you've engaged the customer. I honestly don't have a great answer for that. And I think that you have to start engaging them so early. Why not engage them in the process of picking which of your songs are the best? Because so many artists I know really don't have a clue. It's usually the last thing they wrote is their favorite song. We're all guilty of that. So what if you took acoustic, acoustic guitar vocal demos and put them out on your website and asked your fans to vote for the best songs? Then you'd know. Tony and I have had this discussion about potentially using Taxi's A&R process and our team of people for disc maker customers so that they can make their best CD, not just make a CD. We get people who have pressed up 1,000 CDs at disc makers, they join Taxi, they send it in, and they're so bummed out when our A&R staff says, if the song had a bridge, it would be more powerful. If you went up an octave on, at this point in the third line of the chorus, on the vocal melody, it would make it much more catchy. And people go, shit, I've pressed up 1,000 of these CDs. and they're right. They don't want to admit that we're right. So why not get feedback from your fans in the earliest stages to tell you which of your songs they like the best and make those the ones that you put on the CD that you press at disc makers, or those the ones that you play at your show. As far as when to convert them, I don't know, but I completely agree. It's about relationship building. You'd much rather buy from a friend than from a car
No,
salesman.
but you just answer the question. And this is the thing that, 1,500 artists into my career, most of y'all forget to ask.
Yeah.
Ask. Oh, I don't want to ask, and then I'd be selling something, and that wouldn't be cool. Hello, like, if you don't ask, you will never get. So it's just very simple. Like, and don't ask in a forceful, obnoxious way, but like, hey, anybody, I put my stuff on sale all the time, and I send an email out, and I say, I am selling a product that I have recorded, and I would like you all to buy it. Would you like to? And you go, okay, and you pay me for it. It's just like that.
Yeah, you need an offer, right? And in marketing speak, you need an offer. Buy my CD for $12.95, get free shipping. You need a call to action, which is click here to buy it. And you need to make it easy. Get out of the way then, and have an easy process that people can actually give you a credit card, or at live gigs. Absolutely what you say is, it's amazing how many times I go to gigs, I see new bands opening up for some band I went to see, and A, I don't know what the heck their name is. They don't say their own name. B, I don't know if they have stuff to sell. And if they have stuff to sell, they never almost say, hey, we got CDs in the back room, they're available for $10.
They're embarrassed.
Well, it's not cool.
It's not cool, but if you want to make money off your music, at some point in time, someone's got to give you a couple bucks. So you have to ask for it. Brian, you sold $10,000 worth of stuff. You must have, in 48 hours, you must have asked somebody at some point in time to buy something. What did you do? Tell us about that.
We did. Yeah, so that was, it was a similar situation where we wanted to continue to still be seeming to give away stuff free. Not seeming, that's the wrong way. Still try and make it more than it was, that people were even paying for. So this was when we were starting our tour. We decided that we would make 100 of these USB drives. So little wallet card size USB drives, 500 megabytes, and only make 100 of them. And we would sell them for $100, and they would come preloaded with all of our music. And then the sort of trick is that it's also a lifetime ticket to any of our shows, free, and we'll email you a digital copy of anything we ever make for free. And it's interesting because as soon as this is about 2 weeks in our tour, we put it out to the email list, and they went within 48 hours. Actually, PayPal shut us down on the second day because the money was moving too quickly, and they said,
How much was it?
It was $8,000 right there.
And how much was the deal?
Oh, to make?
No, how much was, if I wanted to buy it?
Oh,
how much was
$100.
it? $100.
And we made 100 of them. And it was funny the number of fans that actually, because this was also 9 months into continuing. At this point, we had released probably 12 or 13 free tracks to people throughout those 9 months, plus our 5 free from the EP. And it was funny how many people apologized to us for buying them. It sounds like something I'd make up, but they said, like, I would have spent way more over time, but, I want to support you, and you want me to buy this, so.
Version 2 was $200.
Well, it's great, but that's great value, and that's what you want. If you want, as an artist, to sell product, sell merch, offer great value. And if you're a true fan, $100 for, to get in for free to every concert they have in your city from now until the band breaks up, and maybe even for the reunion tour.
Yeah, lifetime.
It's great. It's great value.
Their
Great
membership
value.
cards is what we
Yeah.
sold them at. It wasn't USB drives. We said, this is a membership, and there's a database now. Those 100 people are online, and so they get an email from me anytime we put something else out, and they can download it. And the neat thing about having it all internet-based is it actually made something like that much more possible. Like, as it was, the toughest thing was that we still do have a lot of Chicago-based fans because that's where we are, but 80 or so of the 100 were scattered throughout the US, 10 of them internationally. So the one in Singapore, I was very
He's probably
impressed with
not
their
coming to
commitment.
the show.
Yeah.
in Detroit.
That's the remarkable thing, is they weren't coming to the show. But
Yeah.
they still bought it. I actually have an answer for you now on the when do you convert.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's about segmenting your list. If you guys all joined our list today, you're not at the same point in time as somebody who joined our list 3 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago. I've got a lot more trust built up with somebody from 5 years ago or 3 years ago than I would with you guys. So don't send the same emails or the same offers to the people who just got on the list. You can't treat everybody on the list as if they are one type of buyer. So segment them by the year, by the month, so that the people who've been on for a while get different emails with different offers.
So let's talk about email. I mean, emails got mentioned a couple times. It's a great communication vehicle. I mean, when I was playing in a band back in the dinosaur era, we were licking stamps for our mailing list, and that was very expensive. I mean, the tools that are available now, that's just the most basic one, but you got a huge advantage over the olden days in that way. But what are some of the top things that successful email communication, successful email messaging has to include or has to contain? Bob?
So do you with the messaging, or you want to do, or
With top three
we already
things.
covered how to build the database,
No, not building a database.
Okay.
I mean, I think we've talked about that with, give stuff away for free. I think that's a great way to do that. But in terms of, just the message, what makes for effective email communications?
Okay. One thing is to be conversational and to show your personality, either be funny or informative. I mean, it all depends on your genre and who you are as a person and as an artist. Your communication with your fans should reflect who you are. That's another important point just regarding marketing in general. Musicians have this thought in their head that to be a marketer, they've got to be somebody who they're not. They've got to turn into this guy with a suit on and plaid jacket or whatever and turn into a used car salesman, and that is not the way to market. Truly, to be effective is to be who you are, express who you are, let people see that, and do it in your own style. So your email communications, just like your videos and your live shows and everything else that you do, should be an extension of who you are as a person and as an artist. The real important thing is to thank your fans on a regular basis. Let them know how much you appreciate them repeatedly, and that could be just by saying it in an email or by giving them special gifts if they're on your email list. And you should, and I think the way that kind of Brian said that he positioned the USB drive in a special, what you call something. It wasn't just you were buying a little drive, you were getting a membership. The same thing, don't ask people necessarily to sign up on your email list, but ask them to join a special club. Give us some kind of cool backstage or insiders club name and reposition it into something that's more than just, oh, here's my name and email and you're going to send me stuff. Give it some value. So those are my top quick tips.
Ariel, anything to add?
Yeah, just to back up, I know a lot of you are not into the whole technical side. Reverb Nation does have an amazing free bribe offer. Actually, my free bribe offer is being passed around the room as an example of exactly what to do. So I'm asking you to sign up to my newsletter list if you're not already on it. And as a thank you, you get my top Facebook applications for musicians. It's the little copies going around the room. This is a classic example of what you do, right? You ask, please come join my newsletter, my Insiders Club, or whatever it is, and in return, I'll give you a free MP3. Free way of doing that, Reverb Nation has a little widget. I set up a URL for all of us. It's tinyurl/reverb free bribe. So just go and download that, and you can stick it right on your site. But yes, after you have that, I agree with Bob. Think about your self as a brand? Are you funny? Are you geeky? Are you smart? Are you like Mark and you're into cats and beer? How do you come across? What does your music sound like? It would be very disconnective of you to have like kitties and puppies on your email if you're playing heavy metal. So clearly you don't want to sort of shock your fans.
Then you're into dead cats.
Right. But you definitely want to think about the brand, and you want to also think about, how much sharing do you do? Are you cool like that you're married and you have like fun with your wife and your kids on the weekends? Maybe you want to share photos of that. Are you not cool with that and you want more like, I want really only to talk about what I'm doing in the studio or my creative process. But you think about how you want to come across. I will tell you that it has been proven that those people that share a little bit more and kind of peel back the onion get a lot more connectivity. So, of course, if you have little kids, maybe that's not cool to put their photos on your newsletters, but there's something that you can share. Maybe you're a foodie, you like cooking or eating, and remember, there's always something to share. A lot of musicians call me and go, well, I don't want to send a monthly newsletter because we just don't have anything to say every month. We don't tour, or we're in the studio right now, or we're all taking some time off because we have day jobs, we need to save some money. Whatever the case may be, I know we're not always 24 hours a day, 7 days a week musicians, but that's okay. Did you see Avatar? Do you like Deepak Chopra? I don't know. There's a million things that connects us to us. Talk about that stuff. And so I think that's a very, very, I know that when my house burned down in a fire and I couldn't go to my newsletter list that week and be like, hey, everybody, here's some great MySpace tips. Like I lost everything. And the day I wrote that newsletter, I started talking about getting insured and insurance for musicians, and it's how I eventually got connected to Sweet Relief. And like all of a sudden people were writing back real stuff about what happened to them and their situations. And all of a sudden I wasn't just like the marketing girl, I was like a human with a story. So I think we forget that in our positioning of, I must market and it's very important to be cool or rich, or no, maybe one day you're broke and you had a shit day and you just maybe want to share with people. So I think that is a key in your communication, in your newsletter, is just letting it be okay that you're not a rock star 24 hours a day, because the truth is very few of us are, as much as we all would like to be.
I've got a question about Avatar. How many of you guys saw Avatar? How many of you were attracted to the chick with the tail? I was at a party the other night. We were standing outside, a group of 6 grown men talking about whether or not we were attracted to the
Put that in your newsletter, the chick with the tail, right there.
That's my point, is there's commonality out there. Something that people don't...
Some of you are blushing, by the way. I got to point that out.
Yeah. And I can't believe you have a cat because you're never home to take care of it. Does
I
it
know.
even recognize you when you walk in the door?
The thing with cats
right
is
now, thanks.
you don't know with cats whether they recognize you or not.
Our cat thinks he's a dog. When somebody rings the doorbell, he runs to the front door. He's strange. Anyway, getting back to emails. Here's something you probably never thought about, your font choice. Do you know that a 12-point font with a serif on it, like Times or Times New Roman, will outsell a sans serif font like Helvetica dramatically? Bet you never thought of that. How many times have you gone to somebody's MySpace page and they had so much crap on the page that it was a turnoff? Don't be afraid to be somewhat Spartan and make the stuff that is important stick out. My webmaster hates me because I always say, give it a blue burst. One of those things that it's a burst, and it's big and it draws attention to something. If you try to be all things to all people and everything on the page has equal weight, then then you won't be driving them to the thing that you want them to do, which is take action and spend money with you. Subject lines. A subject line is equivalent to a headline. A magazine article, if it's got a great headline, the role of a headline is to get you to go to the first sentence. That's its only goal in life. Same thing with the subject line. We monitor all of our emails at Taxi with all kinds of fancy software. It's amazing. The times that I'm on an airplane and give great thought to my subject line for an email for the following week, because I don't have phones ringing and people bothering me, those emails will get twice the open rate that an email with a subject line that I wrote on a day where I was really busy and wasn't giving it that much effort. Kind of like writing a great chorus for a song. So use the right kind of font, use the right kind of subject line, and then once you get them to open the email, be singular in your purpose. What is the goal of that email once they open it?
Brian, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I may be sort of odd here. I know exactly what you're saying about not having stuff to say, because I never did. Actually, when I was doing a solo career, I had these very flowery, graphic-filled emails where I would just try and find stuff to say. And so actually with I Fight Dragons, I literally said the Obama model, because I have a friend that worked for Obama for America, and he's just said, do this. And it is no graphics, like one graphic at the top that is you, and then really, really simple. Each paragraph is, 2 lines or 3 lines at most, and there's maybe 3 or 4 of them, and then give something away. That was literally the entirety, and it still continues to be the way that because that's how I like to receive emails. It's something I can read. If I look at it and I see a paragraph with 5 lines, in my head I say, I don't have time to read this now, but maybe later I'll get to it, and then I never do. And that was, combined with perso-professional is a term I've heard a lot. The idea that you are a professional, but you're a person, you're a human. So you can be you, and you're being professional, but it's you talking. So I would say that's how we've tried to do everything, is really short, to the point, really short paragraphs. But we also talk funny with big words, because that's just,
That's your geeky thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of a nerdy act, so we tend to use flowery language for no good reason.
But that's
In very small paragraphs.
learning to write. I mean, it's like marketing writing. You have to learn to write copy, just like you learn to write songs, and you have to practice. You have to get feedback, because this is serious. This is for real. So make the offer. I mean, he talks about giving stuff away, but at some point in time, there's an offer. How many names on your email list?
About 10,000, but
Anybody
also...
here got 10,000 names on their email list? 5,000? 3,000? 1,000?
Yeah.
1,000? 500? Okay.
Who,
You got to give away more
Who does
stuff.
not have an email list? No email list. Who has an email list? Okay.
Give some stuff away, guys.
Well, but also, sorry, I
Actually,
should have said...
send the email once a month.
The
That's-
final lesson of the Obama email is there's a big red, the only other graphic is the big red button at the bottom that says donate. And so we have a big red button at the bottom of ours that says buy stuff.
Yeah.
And then it goes to our store.
That's a-
and
that's a-
people
that's a
buy,
call
and
to
it's literally just like they get it. Like you want them to buy T-shirts and stuff, and they're your fans, and they want to.
So what should you not do when you're email marketing? You got that one?
I got it.
Okay.
You're talking about a red button. I'm surprised with all the brainpower Obama had working on his campaign that they used a red button, because red, what does red mean?
Stop.
Stop, yes. Make the buy button green. Although, you know what? There's always somebody who's been doing it longer, doing it better, and has a great team of marketing people that you can copy. Go to Amazon. Anytime you want to know how to get anything right, copy Google or copy Amazon, because why make all the mistakes? Learn from theirs. Notice that they use orange buttons for the buy button. Anytime they want people taking action, they use an orange button. They have conditioned all of us to respond to orange. So have you noticed, if you start watching websites and emails, you'll notice how many of them use orange buttons now. So yeah, don't reinvent the
The
wheel.
PayPal button? I never.
So, yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
absolutely. Feel free to steal great ideas
Absolutely.
and make them your own. Just put
never
your own
orange
twist
button.
on them,
Borrow
but you don't have to be the most original person ever. Take some idea and just make it look original. So what not to do in email? Whoever.
I will I'll chime in with a couple of things here. Is promote only. If all you do is a big sales message and hype, and we're the best thing since the Beatles and Rolling Stones or whatever, that would turn people off. So as long as you're finding that balance, and you put the buy button or buy stuff at the bottom after you've probably given them a little something else. Sending in frequently is a big no-no. Even if you don't think you have anything to say, make time to at least once a month. I think that's the very minimum, twice a month, or even once a week if you really are having an active schedule would be even better. And this is a very subtle thing related to the writing aspect of this. But a lot of times, you'll sit down and you're writing. You know this is going to go to a whole group of your fans, so you'll use phrases like, "Hey guys, I really appreciate you all," and you're speaking to this group of people as if you're on a stage. page. But how do people read emails? How many people, do groups of people gather around the same computer screen to read an email? No, it's one person. Speak to that one person. Say, I really appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do. And that little subtle, it seems like it's just wordplay, but it makes a big difference. It makes it more personal and one-on-one.
And when you write, if I can just chime in, when you write, I mean, when I write emails for disc makers, I picture, I mean, this email goes out to hundreds of thousands of artists, but I picture in my mind one person, and I write like I'm writing to one person a specific message, not to a group of people.
I've got a comment. You had the single hardest writing task as a marketer that I've seen in our collective genre. When disc makers bought CD Baby, CD Baby became such a thing largely based on Derek Sivers' personality and the way he wrote. I was so proud of Tony when you took it over and started communicating to that audience. You were completely yourself. You weren't a phony, but you spoke to them like one guy speaking to people, and the transition was very smooth and very effective. So I'm always meant to tell you that over dinner.
I have another don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
don't.
so
Let's have some more don'ts.
People have pea brains, and this goes for sort of all your marketing. This is a really important thing to remember, not to insult our beloved fan
Right, everybody
bases.
but the people.
I'm insulted.
But I'm sorry. So, you know, when you get an email and it goes, hey, join us on Facebook. Hey, follow me on MySpace. Hey, let's tweet. Hey, people don't know which choice to make, and they become completely confused, and they will take no action. So in your messaging, this goes back to a little bit of planning will go a very long way. Okay, go at the top of January, maybe it's, you know, everyone's spent a lot of money at Christmas time. Maybe they don't have a lot of money. Maybe what I should ask for is to join my Facebook fan page. And so that's your call to action on your newsletter. And then the next month, maybe your Facebook's moving along and you're thinking Twitter could use some love, put your Twitter link. And then the next month, maybe you make a special offer and you ask for money or talk about a show. So ask only for one thing in each newsletter, or else people will do literally nothing. And of course, there's icons now that you can have, like you can have all your social media links at the very bottom, and if someone's looking for you on Twitter, they will find you. But if you ask for too many things, it won't go very well. Another thing that is a don't is you never want to appear as if you're desperate or in some sort of dire need for something. It will come across. People don't like, again, that goes back to the salesperson thing. People love to buy and they hate to be sold to. So you have to kind of find that sweet spot where people will click the red buy button, but yet you're not like, oh my God, I'm going to be evicted unless you please. You know, I've seen these come from musicians. Like, we can't go on the road unless you pay us. Well, you know, that makes me want to delete. So, you know, how could you ask and get as opposed to how could you appear? And typing in all capital letters, not so smart. You know, think about like how is this going to land on someone who's not even yet a fully engaged fan, but like a sort of somewhat engaged fan. So don't act desperate, don't over ask, don't ask for too many things.
So let's shift the focus a little bit to social media. Facebook, MySpace, and all the music social media sites. You know, people are fixated on adding fans and friends and all that stuff. But I mean, there's so much choice out there. And how do you actually make social media work for you? Not just, you know, become an accumulation of quote-unquote fans who actually don't do anything for you?
My number one word of advice in social media is contribute. 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 Do not try to take from your social media community. Contribute a free MP3. Contribute a link to something that you read. Contribute, hey everybody, this video made me cry today. Link to something on YouTube. You don't have to always be talking and hyping yourself. You don't always have to be concerned about the rock star in you. Just be a contribution. The more you can contribute, the more someone can click on something and go, wow, that was really cool. She sent me a video that was really inspiring, or she sent me a photo of something that made me smile today, or that was a really great article about the state of our economy and I'm worried about it too, or that really inspired me because it was a story about a charity that she donated to. All of that is a contribution, and that will be what sets you aside from the, hey, check me out. Hey, I'm great again. Hey, here I am again, and I'm great, and check me out. Like, that people hate that. But people love funny videos on YouTube.
The thing about social media, I always like to remind people of, because again, this technology is changing and people are still, trying to get their heads around it and thinking of this new thing that they have to adjust to. And the tools are new and constantly changing. However, the thing that powers the tools is been around for centuries. And what is powering all this technology? People. It's not the machines themselves. And people are using social media and all these websites to do what they've done for generations, and that is congregate with like-minded people. Prior to the internet, I mean, in centuries past, it used to be maybe the church picnic, the corner bar, the gang at work that you hung around with. People have always congregated and been attracted to people with similar mindsets and attitudes. They're doing the same thing they've always done, only they're doing it on the internet. So don't lose sight of that people, human being aspect of all of this. And so where it used to be, where people were limited by geography and who they could get together with like-minded, now they're not. There are little clusters of people all over. There are groups within Facebook that have specific interests. And so your job then is to go out on the internet and find out where those people that who are your ideal fans, the people most likely to be attracted to the type of music that you play, where are they hanging out in these places? And you need to go and hang out there too, and then contribute to those people who would be most obviously affected and attracted to what you do.
Brian, social media,
Yes.
you have some really interesting things that you do to engage your fan base. I'm thinking of like your movie nights that you do, and some of the other tricks. I mean, tell the folks here a little bit about maybe just
Sure.
about your movie night or some of the other things. It's just very creative.
I mean, a lot of it was interesting because Ariel mentioned the sharing in a newsletter, and actually for us, that, like I said, I didn't feel like I had enough to the email list that I wanted to share, but we tend to use social media as our sharing. So like, for instance, there's a website called firstpersontetris.com. It's great. I saw it yesterday, and it literally, the whole screen rotates when you go, and it's freaky, but it's something that I loved. And of course, it's funny, you are like your fans, They like the same stuff you do. So I tweeted about it, and 10 or 15 people tweeted about that. And there's, I don't know how much you know Twitter, but a lot of it's based around what's called retweets. So you say something, and someone just basically says it again, and they retweet you. And so then other people see who said that in the first place, and then you connect with them. I mean, there's so many. The movie nights were something we did on tour, where we decided that every couple weeks we would one of the band members would pick their favorite movie, and we'd all sit around in the bus and put it on the TV and live tweet it. So with anybody else that wanted to show up, we had what's called a hashtag, and we all just put on the movie and basically just commented on it, like peanut gallery style. And it was fun.
And you would actually, on your website, you post the start time so that all the fans can start
We're all
watching
there.
the movie at the same time.
And that was fun. It actually took a lot of coordination. It had false starts a couple times, but we did it about 3 or 4 of them on tour that all went really well, because the people, chances are your fans like a lot of the same movies you do. We watched 28 Days Later, and it was just so happened that it was like 11 o'clock, and we were in the middle of nowhere, pulled over in a cornfield. And so that was half of what we were talking about, is how freaky it is to watch a zombie movie when you go outside the bus and there's no lights anywhere. But, I would also like to say that some of my favorite aspect of social media that is rising now, and in the past year or two, are sites like, I'd say my favorite is a site called the61.com.
Yeah.
And if you're not on there, you should be, because it's like a godsend to independent musicians, because, not to get too far into it, but basically it's a game designed around your music. So you upload your music, and then people try and discover it, and they actually are listening because they're investing in it in this game. And it's a brilliant community that is based around people who love music discovering new music. And so the 61 is one. Jam Legend is another awesome one that is actually basically like a Guitar Hero type, but it's another way to make your music into a game that people love to play. And those type of sites just are great, because then more people find out about you, and then they connect with you and you contribute, and it's just all so awesome and reinforcing that you end up connecting with people like you who would also like the music you make, because hopefully you like the music you make.
So top Twitter tips, real quick. We're an hour in. We'll go a couple minutes, another 5-7 minutes, and then we'll turn it over to you for questions. Top Twitter tips?
Just try to understand. I mean, you can Google this if you're new to Twitter, or if you don't know, like if he's talking about retweeting. You should understand just the fundamentals. I'm amazed at how many people are tweeting away and they don't really get the point. So there's some little things to know. If you at someone, like I am Cyber PR, if you want to meet me here at NAMM, but you don't have my number and you have no idea how to get in touch with me, if you did at Cyber PR, hey, I'm also at NAMM and I'd love to meet you, I promise you within a few minutes I will be responding directly to you. So that's how you can get to someone that you don't know, and you'd be amazed. You can at celebrities and they will write you back. Like, people are into this. An RT is a retweet. It's basically like just giving someone props for, like, someone said something really funny and you liked what they said. Instead of stealing it and taking it for yourself, you show, like, I really liked this person's thought. So that's called an RT. That's a retweet. So if you ever see a tweet and it starts with RT and you're wondering what the heck that is, that's what that is. Another thing to understand is the distinction between a direct message, which is a private message that's just between you and me, and a message that's for the world. And sometimes it's really inappropriate to tweet things. Remember also, Twitter is public domain. Don't tweet while you're drunk or angry. That would be really some do's and don'ts, because you can delete them, but
They're still captured.
Yeah, they're still captured.
Did you
And
catch
also,
the tweets by, what's the guy's name on House, the lead actor on House? Yeah, Hugh Laurie was in an airport with another gentleman in a different part of the store, tweeting back and forth with each other, a bunch of stuff nobody would want anybody to ever know.
he forgot to
Yeah.
direct.
Yep.
Oops. Yeah. So, that happens a lot, actually.
That'll get retweeted.
Yeah.
Done. That's how I found out.
Look how angry this man is. Retweet.
Other Twitter tips?
One other thing about it, like, just Google this. There's like a million, like, this is the basics of Twitter. Just spend 5 minutes. I would also say lurk before you leap in Twitter. Follow people that you like. Just see how they're doing it. There's so many great people Twittering now, and probably artists that you like, or self-help dudes that you like, or chefs whose restaurants you go to. I mean, it's everywhere now. So read how they do it before you do it. I would advise that.
I want to start with you, Michael. Just some tips, some suggestions that you have for musicians, whether performing live or on their website or an email, how they can drive extra revenue. How do you double, triple your music revenue?
Thanks for the easy question.
Yeah, no pressure.
Okay, we've talked about most of this stuff. Ask for the sale. If you don't ask, you don't get. Maximize your sales when you go out and do a show. Have somebody at a table in the back of the room that is selling merch. Don't just be casual about it, like not mentioning it all, and when you get off the stage, maybe you go pop a box of t-shirts and sell some. Have somebody in the back of the room, and while you're on stage a couple times, say, hey, don't forget Joe in the back of the room. He's selling CDs, he's selling shirts, giving away drives, whatever Joe is doing back there. Let people know. Obviously, be one thing. I mentioned that before. Don't try to be all things, because you end up being nothing at all. And there's maybe the best example. I've got 220,000 people on my email list, and I once sent out an email asking how many of you have actually made $10,000 or more with your music. I don't know if you responded to that one or not,
I didn't.
Brian.
That's funny.
But
In 2 days. No.
I got one response from one guy. Tony and I have talked about this at dinner a lot. It's a subject that Sivers and I have talked about, and Tony and I stay on it a lot. The one guy who made more than 10 grand had a CD called Tailgate Tunes. He's a huge Green Bay Packer fan, so he put together a compilation of goofy songs, they're almost embarrassingly goofy songs about the Packers, and put them on a CD. But because it was one thing, had a niche audience, he got found on CD Baby. Sivers has told us about the lady who did an equestrian CD for people who like to ride English horses, that kind of riding, as opposed to yeah kind of riding. And they found that particular CD. So if you can define your niche and then go after that niche, you're going to do a lot better than being really broad and general and just saying, here we are to everybody. Another thing about social media is don't, if I can jump back for a second, don't expect a result overnight. You've got it with any of these techniques. You have to, if you're depending on your music to create an income for you, you better keep the day job and have a marketing budget and have a year before you expect to see a return. I broke my own rule. I started tweeting. I was getting nothing out of it. I like instant results. I noticed one of my kids on the staff, who's 24 years old, was always sitting in staff meetings in the conference room tweeting from his iPhone. So I handed over Twitter to him and said, make it your baby. And he said, I will if you promise me one thing. And I said, what's that? Don't expect to see $1 from this for a year. I said, okay, so he's been tweeting for about a year. Well, now we're getting one joiner, one taxi member a week coming in as a result of Twitter. We can track it with software that we use. So it's now generating $15,000 a year, and he spends about 15 to 20 minutes a day tweeting. So if I look at the cost of paying him to do
I've
it
tweeted
versus
with him.
Craig, right?
So have I. I was like,
So-
I just
Pascal,
realized
what's up? You said never about that. Right, so yeah, 12 months, I think 18 months. It takes, it's kind of sad, but it just takes a lot of time, and it also takes a lot of, you've got to stick with it. The first 3 months on Twitter, you will be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like, you really, I promise you, probably won't like it. I cried the first time. I flew in this fancy social media guru expert and flew her to New York. I spent more money than I had for my rent that month, and I cried when she showed me this thing. I was like, this is so dumb. But so stick with it. I would say that.
Other tips for selling, driving more revenue?
Yes.
Before we turn it over?
A taxi member named Brad Belt. He put out a CD called something like "Golf is a Cussing Game" or something like that. It was an entire CD about funny songs about playing golf, and he's sold a lot of them. And it sort of just ties into this. If you can put out an album or a CD or have music that's for a specific purpose, like if you find that your music is being used by a lot of people who use it when they're doing yoga, when they're meditating. Instead of just having, mellow or having some vague title, actually put it music for yoga or music for meditation. Have a specific purpose, because those are the specific things that people will be searching for. Also, I was at the Taxi Road Rally a few months ago, speaking to a CD Baby member. See how this all ties in here? And this guy said, I've been selling a lot of my CDs, and I don't even really market it that much. I'm going, really? Why? What? And I said, what's the name of it? The name of the CD is Smooth Jazz. The name of it is the genre. He says, the only thing I can figure out is people are searching for smooth jazz, and it comes up, and they listen to it, they like it, and they buy it. So put your genre in the title of your CD.
Simple.
That's tricky though too, because I have a friend in a band called Gentlemen's Club, and just try finding them on Google.
Yeah, no.
Good luck.
Not
Well, your
simple.
band name is actually very, very important. We see this,
I
with
couldn't
search.
find their MySpace.
All the Google searches are going through my head right now. They're not good.
With search results, right? If you're in a band, we have a band on CD Baby called It. Now, that's all it is. When you do a Google search, that's screened out, right? So there's no way, or it gets confused with all the IT consultants, so your band name actually, don't make it some common word, ideally. Have it be, something that's actually searchable. So how about a hand for our panel?
I'm gonna hand for you guys.
Thank you, guys.
My question is about PayPal versus other ways of purchase. Is it a safety thing where when we make our purchases, because we sell a lot of CDs on CD Baby as well, and people are more comfortable buying it there. So was it like they may come to your site and maybe not feel as secure getting it from your site directly? Or is it does that even matter? Because we built a database where you can actually go straight in, but it wasn't the PayPal thing, it was direct through our bank. But when you see the PayPal thing or the CD Baby, is it just more of a safety net, or?
I think you should make your CDs available through all sales channels. So anyone who's selling music, I think, should be on CD Baby. One, I think it's really easy also to get in the Amazon Advantage program, as those are trusted sources where people go specifically to buy music. From your own site, PayPal is the easiest way, probably. However, there's some competition now. That's Google Checkout is another secure one that people trust, and Amazon now has this thing called Simple Pay. That's again competing with PayPal, and since so many millions of people already use and trust Amazon, that's another possible option that you can use to take orders from your own site, where obviously you make more of a profit doing that. I hope that answers your.
That's very vague. I know it's people are strange. We use PayPal at my firm, and people say, "Well, PayPal ripped me off." You know, okay, like it's a processing. People are just bizarre. You could put a little blurb on your pay page, like this is a secure bank. Here's a link to it. Like if people feel very suspicious, they want to research that it's safe. You could try that.
And show a certificate.
Yeah, the certificate is people trust that certificate as well.
Mostly for Ariel and Brian. I manage a jazz band. It's more of a funky jazz band, and unfortunately, we're not getting much radio support because of the smooth jazz stations kind of going away. We have a great local following in the Bay Area, and I guess my question for both of you would be, what would you recommend as our next step to kind of start going outside of that without radio being part of it?
Is your vision to tour? What is it you're trying to achieve?
Well, I mean, selling CDs, we've got our third CD out. Name of the band is Times4, and also touring and getting, venues to actually consider you to open the doors and have you play.
How many people are on your newsletter list?
Right now we have about 700.
Okay, I think the magic trick, like how do you make more money? You can't make money unless a lot of people know about you. You just can't. I don't know anyone that does. I really don't. So, and there's always this goal, right? Like we want to get on the road, or we want to get a manager, or we want to, and I always go back to the core question. How many fans, like if I was going to manage you and you told me I have 200 or 300 names, that's not much managing for them to do. If you came to me and said, I have 50,000 names and I've maxed out my Facebook page and I can't even add another friend because I can't handle it, that's a scenario for a manager. Right, you need to begin to build your base. You need to be, if you're doing well in the Bay Area, that's no mean feat. That's one of the toughest markets in our country to do well in. So you've got something. You definitely have something if you're selling out shows in San Francisco, period. That means that's a good thing. But everyone that comes to those shows, as he was saying about Seth Godin, they need to be remarking. They need to be spreading. You need to be positive that you've got all those email lists. Everyone that comes to your show should also be on your email list. And then they should also be interconnected on social media.
I was going to say gig swaps are a great way that we found to, before you can really swing the full tour, especially if you have a really strong local following and a genre following, people that are there for the music, then it's incredibly attractive to a band, in a city an hour or two away that is the same way, that says, like we know the clubs here, we can book a show on a Friday night and bring, a couple hundred people. If you can do the same, why don't we trade off on weekends? And then I think everything comes into play from, make sure you have your email list there, and because that's the stepping stone is, well, then how can you get that local following in that city also, and the next? And I'd say that tends to be, in addition to the sort of the two-front war of how do you continue to do all the online stuff, because eventually that does lead to people showing up, but it's also tricky because it's all online. So you've got both sides.
My two younger brothers are age 13 and 15, and they're flamenco players. And it seems as though everything they do, their music is great, but they're not at a level where they can be compared to something that's, the listener is blown away. So there's a visual element that is very necessary in their performance. YouTube is a great venue to do that. However, finding difficulty bringing people to YouTube.
Yeah, it's true. YouTube is
So-
weird. People go there and they watch the fun video that they like, but it's not a sticky community.
Right.
Have you looked at Ustream.com yet?
No.
I would.
Ustream?
I would. You can make like live shows and broadcast them from literally your living room, and you can get a following. It's a very sticky community. Who's doing it? The Nadas. If you look at the Nadas, Nadas, they're a great band from Iowa. They're kicking butt on Ustream. Also, Matthew Ebel does a weekly concert from his living room, and he's got 300 people a week coming because he's also visual. He's got a really fun show. I would recommend looking at that community for sure.
Can I
Okay.
ask on the YouTube videos that they're doing? Are they just putting like are they doing original flamenco? songs
Yeah,
or
well, it's
own?
their own breed of rock riffs inspired by, you know, flamenco dances a lot with heavy metal in how the chord progressions come along and what they're playing. So it's all acoustic.
Most likely the titles and the descriptions that you're putting on YouTube have their band name and the name of the song or whatever. One thing, a great way, again, like it goes back to the link bait thing that we talked about earlier. If they can do covers of popular flamenco or something influenced by someone very well known in the flamenco genre, put their name in the title, and again, use that to bring people who are already fans of that artist to see them and discover them within the video. The best way to leverage that attention, though, is within the video itself, put a plea to go to put your website with text that comes along the bottom, make a special offer at the end of it. If you like this tune, you'll love our free downloads at blah, blah, blah.com. So that'd be my best recommendation
Okay.
for...
You started out saying something really interesting, though, is where we started earlier on the panel, which is my younger brothers do flamenco, but they're not quite there yet. It's, and how do we attract an audience? Well, make them get there. They've got to be great so that they become remarkable and one person tells another. If you went to a car site and you were shopping for an incredible sports car and you saw some dumpy little cheapo car there, you'd be disappointed and immediately leave. So maybe you should be concentrating your energy on helping them become singular in the type of music they do. You mentioned they do rock, heavy metal influenced rock flamenco. Find a way to say that a little more concisely and make it more appealing and have them become fabulous at what they do rather than trying to sell something that's not yet fabulous and is kind of amorphous in its description.
So you're saying it's a good thing they're not getting a lot of YouTube views.
Yeah.
So heavy flamenco. There you go.
Facebook seems to be getting a lot more love these days, perhaps because of the Twitter connection, than MySpace. How do you characterize those two big sites, and what emphasis do you place on them?
Okay, so if Facebook was the largest, if Facebook was a country, it'd be the fourth largest in the world. It's 350 million, it's growing ridiculously. MySpace is still a legit player. So for those of you who've heard like MySpace is dead, that's ridiculous. There's still 100 million people on MySpace, and a few studies have been showing recently that that's where people still go to listen to music. People know where the player is, they know how to use it, they know how to press pause, they know where it's going to show up on the page. It's the oldest social media site, and so therefore taking yourself out of MySpace is not smart. However, what you've all probably experienced is you're not friending people as much, you're not communicating as much, you're doing more of your communications on Facebook and Twitter. Therefore, our advice is use MySpace, and when I land on your page, I just want to know you're not dead. So have your links to your Facebook and your Twitter so I know where I can really go interact with you. Make sure you're constantly uploading new songs so that your new stuff is there, and keep that blog live. The number one mistake I see artists make is like the top fold, which means the top 1/3, which is the thing most screens show when people land on your MySpace page, says blog, and 90% of y'all don't even have anything happening on your blog. So people are clicking on that and it feels like there's nothing happening. So I would suggest making sure that your MySpace is kept up. However, this is not going to be where you're going to be growing exponentially, but it's still a big player. And of course, Facebook is now the place to be.
Can I talk about blogs for a second because we haven't mentioned them yet? People get frustrated. They write a blog, they expect a miracle. If you want to get people to see what you're blogging about, think of a topic, spend 15 minutes on Google, Googling terms that you think people who would be interested in that topic would Google. Look and see what the top things are that come up on the Google page, and then make that the headline for your blog. Anytime I see one of my competitors ranking higher than taxi on a search term that I wish we were ranking higher on, I write an article and make whatever they had, whatever part of their article that Google picked up and used as the thing, what do you call it, you know, when they rank on that page, I use that as my headline. I use those words as my tags. I have literally hit the publish button on a blog, gone to the bathroom, washed my hands, come back into my bedroom, gotten back in my bed, opened up my laptop again, and we were number 3, ranked number 3 in 3 to 5 minutes on a blog that I had just written. So blogging works.
I'm amazed you have competitors, Michael.
I'm amazed I go to the bathroom.
Other blogging, while we're on blogs?
I know blogging, if you're like still trying to get your feet wet in smaller things like Twitter and Facebook, it just seems like, oh no, not another thing. But it is truly very, very effective and a great way of showing. Do you blog?
And more than
We,
more than 140 characters.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can really.
Our blog's actually part of Chicago Tribune's blog network, but when for first 6 months, we just used our MySpace blog, and it's nice. One of the few advantages of having band members is you blog once. We have 6 people in our band, so we all blog once a week, and then there's a day off, and it's nice. So I blog once a week, and I don't know. From an artist's perspective, for me, it's another element of that social media. So it's you saying what you're doing, and in the things that interest you. Like actually, I think Tony, you mentioned reading my blog that I wrote yesterday about how I played this game called Day of the Tentacle on the airplane on the way here. And I took screenshots and posted it on my blog because it's this old game. But a lot of our fans also like that sort of game and used to play it. And so I blog about it, and then they comment and like it. It's funny. The things that interest you interest them.
You know, who has a Google alert set for their own name?
Who has no idea what he's talking about? Cool. All right.
Care to elaborate?
Anyone?
Esteemed panel?
Yeah, as Google Alert is one way to do it. Also, the Google Reader, you can do blog search, or it's a system that you basically get a little email or however you want to be alerted each time that you're mentioned anywhere on the internet. And we use that for a long time because when you're first starting out especially, it's so important to know who's talking about you and connect with them. Because you turn someone who mentioned you into someone who is, you know, a colleague or loves you and actually says, I interacted with that person. They actually wrote, when I blogged about liking their music, they wrote a comment saying thank you. And that's a huge, you know, at least for us, was throwing gasoline on a flame.
It's a great way. I mean, I have Google Alerts set for my personal name, for disc makers, for CD Baby, for misspellings of my company names, for my competitors. You just go to Google, and at the menu you have to go to Advanced, I
Just
believe.
Google Alerts,
and
it's pretty easy.
You can set it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
And the cool thing is when you see that somebody has done a blog about you or mentioned your band somewhere, then go ahead and tweet about it and send people to that page.
And comment, and man, they love you.
Yeah, that goes back to being a contribution. You know, if someone's going to take even a sentence to talk about your music or you or mention you, if you go in there and comment, say, hey, thanks. I mean, that is like huge. Like it's an acknowledgement that someone did something for you.
I mean, if you're a fan and you write about a band you like, and all of a sudden, you know, if you write about I Fight Dragons, and all of a sudden Brian posts a comment, hey, thanks for the mention, blah, 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 hope to meet you when I'm in your city. I mean, if you're a fan, you're like blown away.
I've got 2 questions for Brian. The first is, at the very beginning you were talking about distributing, sending out emails to all your fans and then giving something away for free. So I'm really curious to know, what was your means of digital distribution? How did you give it away for free?
a lot of people worry about security when you're giving things away. We had no worries. Literally, I would post the MP3, or you know, if it's an MP3, or on our website. So it'd be iFightDragons.com/ you know, why bother, the Weezer cover, .mp3. And I would send the link out in the email with a little thing that says, right-click on this and hit download, and you'll get it.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so that's, I mean, there's a lot more technically advanced ways to do it, if that's what you're into, or, you know, that's, however you can do it that's easiest for you and that lets people get it. And don't worry about people stealing it, because that's the point.
No.
Because I think a lot of people go to like great lengths to make sure that, because a lot of those links are still live. People could, if they kept track of all the old links, they could go back. But you know what? If you go on ISO Hunt, you can also find our CD and get it there on torrents. So.
Do you open yourself up to a lawsuit if you're doing a cover of a Weezer song and then giving it away?
We have never made a cent off of it. So, I mean, it's a good question. But from our perspective,
Because that's a great way to get press.
Wow.
Yeah. That was
Sued. Yeah, if he gets sued, all of a sudden you'll be on the
that's
front
good
page of the
too,
Wall
right?
Street Journal.
Are your profits really from live performance and from merch? Because you've been giving away a lot of your music up until now, right?
Yes and no. Live performance for sure. And actually, I did want to mention one thing, because I didn't get to talk about the tips to increase your sales. This was a Derek Sivers trick that I read right as we left for tour. And he said, sell your CDs the same way. Tell people, pay what you want.
Yeah.
And I heard it, and I thought it was the craziest
A
thing.
bunch of our bands are doing it, and they're making more than ever before.
For the
like,
first 5
just pay what you
shows?
want.
For the first 5 shows, we didn't. We just said, it's $5, it's a 5-song CD,
Right.
that's what it is. And then the next 5 shows, we said, you know, if you like what you hear, we're the opening band on this tour. So we said, if you like what you hear, we want you to leave with a CD. If you've got $1, $2, if you only got a $100 bill, that's rough. You know, we wish you felt your pain. Literally, I said that joke every night, and it never fails to get, because I wish I had a $100 bill. But people bought, on average, twice as many CDs, and our average price for the entire tour was $4.98. I could not believe that, you know, and we took data on it, and we sold twice as many. And
That's awesome.
so that was a cool way to do it. CDs way more than merch. T-shirts are so expensive.
Yeah, they are.
But you gotta have
One other
them.
thing that we've all talked about, but we haven't said really, tracking. Did you get that he knows what he did on tour? Do you get that he knows how many people open the Twitters? Do you get that he knows how many people open his email? This is a rudimentary, fundamental thing that all marketing people know that no musician's ever been taught. You need to know how many people are opening your newsletters. That's why it's important to have a newsletter management system. It's not that we all think Constant Contact's awesome. It's just that you will know how many people opened it and forwarded it to other people. So tracking your effectiveness is incredibly, incredibly important. Just like when you play a great song and people like really start reacting and woo, oh, that's what we did there is good. Like that probably is going to work on stage a second night. That's very, very critical. Google Analytics, again, just Google Analytics. You can install that on your website, and you can actually track how many people are coming to your site, where they're coming from. You begin to learn a lot about your community and what sticks.
What? Go ahead.
Just to say, your goals and the specific things that you do to market yourself should be fluid and flexible. And there's this term that I heard, there's actually in reference to psychology, but it was monitor and modify. So you're observing what's happening, you're measuring, you're paying attention to the results that you're getting, and then you shift. You make tweaks here. I'll do a little less of that, a little more of this thing that's working, and then you just keep watching and keep paying attention. You shift a little bit more. That's really it sounds simple, but a lot of people just keep doing what they've always done and don't really bother seeing what's being most effective.
One other thing, if you happen to have your music available for sale on CD Baby, you can actually go into your account, set one of your download prices for one of your tracks to 0, and then send folks there. They can download the track for free, and when that's done, they're asked to register, and then you will get the contact information on the clients who download it.
Tony, can I elaborate on one thing really quick?
Sure.
As far as tracking goes, you can even take it to another level. We can use our email software to see everybody who clicked the Join Taxi button on an email. So if we send out a couple 100,000 and we have, let's say, 1,000 people that click the Join button and only 113 actually joined, we can take the remainder of those people, the 877 or whatever it is, and move those people to a separate list. They're extremely likely to buy in the future because they did click the Join button. They wanted to see how much we cost and what they got. So you could do the same thing. I know that CD Baby allows you to see the name of everybody who bought your product. Why not add those people to a special list and go back for the second product? Or
Correct.
sell them something else.
But,
Do you guys
and we
know
do,
that there's a database of everyone that ever bought your stuff on CD Baby? Half my artists go, there is? Like, add those people to your newsletter list.
we do the same thing. We watch who clicks on our emails. And then frequently we will, if they clicked but they didn't subscribe or sign up, we will send later on another follow-up email to that group. But, you know, without being stalkerish, we won't tell them, hey, we noticed that you clicked on our email.
Right.
You know, just another new email.
Where are you finding is the most effective ways to spend your advertising dollars to help drive business to your own sites? Where should we be spending the advertising dollars?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of once people kind of know who you are a little bit, we found Facebook ads to be really effective in increasing. Once people kind of see you, you know, and say, oh, I've heard of them before, I saw their poster up, because you can do it by city. So in Chicago, when we're coming up on the week of a big show, that week we'll spend $100 in Facebook ads reminding people about, and that goes directly to the Facebook event, the flexibility of Facebook ads. And we also spend, I think it's maybe $20 a week on just sort of general, the type of people who would like our music. We have Facebook ads up that are a couple bucks a day, but you know, that's a few people, maybe 10 people a day who are clicking and finding out about us. And that if you really target, at least with Facebook ads, that's the only kind of advertising that we've really done, and a little bit of.
With the Google Ad Network, it's also really cheap. I mean, we've tested advertising independent artist names, and trust me, nobody is buying independent artist names. Yeah. So, you know, for literally a couple of pennies a click, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 cents a click, you can buy your name, and then, you know, obviously you have to learn how to write one of these little pay-per-click ads in Google, but just look at the ones that come up when you do your searches, and then you know, you will start driving some traffic to your site. Hopefully you'll have something to sell to drive some revenue.
I get where you're going with giving the stuff away, and as a way to increase your fan base and generate as much buzz as possible. But, and this is more of a philosophical question than anything else, because I wonder how much we're all engaging in this terrific race to the bottom, because we're giving it all away, and I'm involved in music for movies and television as well, and you know, sync fees have gone from like $10,000 a placement to $1,500 on network television, and in most places it's gratis now. You know, you're lucky to get a song placed anywhere. And the same is true for movies. It's like, well, you get a credit in our film. Isn't that good enough? You know, and you make everything on the back end. So, like, music has less and less value every single day because everybody's got it, everybody's giving it away. So how do we stop the...
It's supply and demand. Sadly, I agree with you. I hate seeing music given away. I despise it.
I do too, but you can't beat them.
It's supply and demand, and the fact is, when the first ADAT was manufactured, a light went on for me and went, now everybody's going to be able to record music. There's no longer the barrier of entry needing to spend $150 an hour to go to a top-notch studio when you can record stuff essentially for free at home. And I was right. So now there are a couple 100,000 musicians in the United States alone that are producing really top quality music. So the supply has gotten much bigger. The distribution channels no longer have the barriers to entry that they used to have. So I don't think there's any way to get it to come back up. Sadly, on film and TV, you know, I'm pretty much an expert on that subject because most of our taxi members are making money in that genre. In Europe and Asia, let me restate that. In Europe and Asia, for the first time in history, cable subscriptions and satellite subscriptions are heading south because so many people are now getting their TV and movies, regular network TV, off the internet and getting it without commercials. So they no longer need to subscribe to a satellite network like DirecTV. They no longer need to subscribe to a cable network. That is eventually going to chip away at the number of audience that are watching and seeing the commercials or seeing the TV show itself, at least trackably, if that's even a word. So the back end collected by ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC for artists on the performance thing is going to go to hell. I'm really worried about that. I think in 5 years that we're going to see that people that are now making $100,000 a year off back end for film and TV are going to be down to 5 or 10 or nothing a year.
I think it's misguided to think that the value of music is going down. There used to be this thing called radio, and everybody wanted to get their stuff played on radio. And really, for all intents and purposes, when you get stuff played on radio, it's free, right? And as artists, you really don't get anything significant from that radio. So giving stuff away for free, it's not just supply and demand, it's push versus pull. When you release your next album, you have to push it out there, as opposed to when Jay-Z releases his next album, there's immediate consumer pull. So as soon as that Jay-Z album is out, somebody posts it on some torrent site, and people are looking for it to grab it for free. For most of the folks in this room, when you come out with your next release, there are not too many people looking for it. So you have to push. And if it wasn't for free, for giving away content for free, the reach right now is so much greater. If it wasn't for doing that, a band like I Fight Dragons would have taken a lot longer for them to build the kind of fan base and the kind of buzz. And so it's a matter of taking free. Don't fear free. I've been preaching this, and I'm in the business of making money selling discs and selling downloads, but I'm telling artists, your job is to build that fan base with free stuff so that when the fan base has a certain critical mass, you can then turn them into buying customers, whether they come to your gigs, whether they buy your merch at gigs or CDs at gigs, or they come to your website and buy stuff online. Next question.
This isn't really a question, but it's an add-on to what you said. I have a lot of artists send me, via MP3 or whatever, 1 to 3 tracks of a CD that's about to come out. And if I like it, I will go and buy their CD because I know the whole CD is going to be good. And, I've had computers crash, I've had different issues where if I have an MP3, it's gone. I lose it for whatever reason, and I like to have a hard copy. I don't know what the stats are on that nationally or internationally, but that's my personal deal.
It's interesting because we're all talking web, and there's a ton of music obviously being traded for free on the web that way outstrips by, I don't even know what kind of factor, more than a factor of 10, the music that's sold. But when you think about music revenues, I just got a report on the state of digital music from Redwood Capital, one of the VC firms that has invested in a bunch of digital music companies. And this is January 2010, current. 2/3 of music revenues are from people who are buying only CDs. That is pretty amazing if you think about it, particularly out here in California, where, believe it or not, you're ahead of the rest of the country in terms of the digital technology adoption. 2/3 of folks buy CDs and listen to terrestrial radio. And so that's why, I generally recommend to folks, you have to have as much product as possible available for sale. People ask me, do you need CDs still in this day of digital stuff? And I say, not just do you need CDs, you need to not let any of your CDs go out of stock, and you need merch. The more stuff you have to sell at your gigs and online, the more likely you are to sell something. So
yeah, I would just re-emphasize physical CDs for live playing musician. No, and it's funny because people are like, oh, well, they've got these newfangled download cards that you can get now that'll let you download. I don't want to pay $5 for a piece of plastic that I can type into, nobody does. You want to buy a physical thing that says, I saw this band, they handed it to me, and a lot more often, they want you to sign it. I mean, this happened to us from day one. Our CD release show, had 100 people there, but a lot of them wanted it signed because it's proof. It's a physical thing that said, this person gave me a CD and I physically have it.
I'm kind of an odd duck in this thing because I'd quit playing and I was sending things off to a producer and got lucky a couple years ago, and I have some famous people that have played on my CD, but I don't play out that much and I don't know how to build that base to get my CD out there. So if you're not playing out, how do you build your email base? And so it was like I was thrown back into the to the 21st century, So I'm still on the learning curve right now.
So, in other words, your name's Bob? Robert? Is there any hope for Robert? and the hundreds of thousands of musicians like him who are not touring.
I would say 85% of all clients at Cyber PR, which is my PR firm, we do digital publicity, do not tour. They're like you. They have day jobs, or they consider it a hobby, or they used to be a passion, or fear not. Everything that we're talking about does not have to be backed up with. I think, yes, 10 years ago you had to get your ass in a van and endlessly go. No, not so much anymore. So you're totally good. Just build your email list.
Look at the people around you in this room. I'd say, am I nuts in saying the average age could be 38 to 42 years old in this room?
Who's touring here? I mean, all of you are musicians. Who's touring? Who's not touring? Who's releasing records? There you go.
How many of you are over 35? Okay, how many men are over 35? Sorry, ladies. My point being that the older generation still does buy music. I have this argument with presidents of major labels all the time. They're so busy trying to capture that 18 to 24 market. That market is the market that steals music. Why not put out music that baby boomers, who are the largest generation in America and the most well-moneyed, why not put stuff out for that generation? But they're
Susan Boyle.
Yeah, exactly. How many times
Susan Boyle,
do we
hello.
need that proved to us? But yet they refuse to.
Nora
because
Jones.
The kids on their staff are young and they're hip and they're cool and they're all about being trendy. I think there's a huge market out there that's being overlooked, and the major labels will not pay attention.
This question is, more directed towards Brian, but everybody can kind of emphasize on it. Really, we're kind of in a position where we're wanting to release an album and basically go and do a tour to promote the album. What would you say is the key to having a successful tour, not only in terms of generating revenue, because you are playing to audiences that aren't necessarily super I Fight Dragon fans already,
Right.
So what would you say, advice or just the key to having it successful, not only in adopting new fans, but also generating revenue so that you don't spend all this money and then end up with a lack of success in the end, no return?
Yeah, that's a really tough question because the answer, I think, is it depends in a lot of ways. We ended up being the openers on the MC Chris tour, so it was an artist whose audience really is likely to like our music. It kind of has a nerdier bent to it. But yeah, for those 45 shows, we were playing to audiences that, with a couple exceptions, Chicago and other places we had played before, had never seen us. So, but believe it or not, even with all those advantages, having, the nerdy fans and things like that, it's still, especially if you have a several-person band, the finances of your first tour are killer. And I'll be honest with you, this wasn't our initial plan. We sort of, we always networked and were hoping to get a tour like that, but the plan for the fall at first was sort of, what I had been talking about before about gig swapping, you know, starting to do kind of like a radius where you can, place you can go in a couple hours and play. And then maybe some of your fans will even come from your city and things like that. But rather than a point-to-point, give up your life for a few weeks tour, because without the advantage of a headliner that already has a crowd or something like that, you're playing against yourself, and it's already so hard that I would say, you know, obviously on the one hand, network and try and find that, you know, a headliner that would want to take you if that's what your goal is, or on the other end, you know, start branching out and doing the weekend warrior thing about how, you know, you can hit cities within a few hour drive, and just start building them all up as local markets. I mean, that's sort of my thought on it.
Concentric circles. Take a map and do a 50-mile, 100-mile, 200-mile circle, and every time you saturate a circle, move out to the next.
And read Martin Atkins'
Yeah.
Tour Smart. It's like the best book you could ever pick up on how to tour without losing your butt. Tour Smart.
Well, also, it's
swears
kind of
a lot.
similar to the free downloads thing, in that at the beginning of an artist's career, you're giving away everything. You're playing anywhere for anybody at any time. And as you progress over the course of your career, then you get to be more selective. Then you're playing less often in a city, so that when you do play, it's a bigger deal than, oh, I can catch them again next week. And it's the same thing with giving away stuff for free. As you evolve and you get more of a fan base, then you start parceling out in the same way that you segment your mailing list, you segment your content. And your content is everything, it's audios, it's videos, it's anything that you create that can be shared with your fans. And you say, well, this stuff we're going to give away, this stuff we're holding back for sale, and that percentage can grow so that you're selling more and more stuff, being more selective about where you play. That's all, but in the beginning, you're doing anything that you can.
And one last tip and words to live by. When you're on a tour, when you're gigging or opening up for somebody, blow the people away who are at the gig. Know how to write a great song, be well rehearsed, and just blow them away, because that's how you get people to want to buy your stuff and sign up for your mailing list. I want to thank Bob Baker, Ariel Hyatt, Michael Lasco, Brian Mazzaferri. Thank you all.